El Mundo Spain. You were in Madrid this year, scoring so many goals and scoring goals in the last minute. What are the feelings today?
Yeah, you know. Hello. It's minging that, innit? Is that all right? Hello. Is that good? Okay, yeah. You know, it's a feeling that, you know, is like no other. You know, I think in international football, in knockout football, it is even a worse feeling because, you know, you're 30 seconds from going home, having to listen to all the rubbish, feeling like you've let a nation of people down, and in 30 seconds or one kick of the ball, everything can change. And yeah, it's a feeling that I don't like to be in, but when it's done, it feels great. So yeah, it's a habit that I've picked up from Madrid. Obviously, my game's improved a lot since I've joined, and yeah, really grateful I could bring it to this game. Thank you. Yeah.
When you celebrated, you seemed to shout, "Who else?" Does that just come from, like, you've just been talking about the fact you have picked up a knack of scoring these late goals, or is it something you kind of, a vision you had in your head or something like that? Can you just try and explain the emotion that came out?
I think the adrenaline gets you, but it's a combination of a lot of things. You know, you playing for England is an enjoyable feeling, but it's also a lot of pressure. You hear people talk a lot of rubbish, and you know, it's nice that when you deliver, you can give them a little bit back. You know, it's very difficult in press conferences and interviews and things like that to talk as openly as footballers want to, because they're always judged. And for me, football and being on the pitch, scoring goals, celebrating is my release. And you know, it's maybe a message to a few people, but very happy moment and full of adrenaline.
Is that the best goal of your career?
Probably, yeah. It's got to be in it. It's got to be up there anyway. There's a few nice ones, you know, ones that mean a lot to me personally, like my first goal for Birmingham, Dortmund, Madrid. They're always special ones, but yeah, I think it's one that's right up there. You know, it's so important in terms of today and the mood change if it doesn't happen. So I think that yeah, it's definitely up there.
Does a comeback like that and the feeling you get from it, can that really be a moment that sort of kick-starts the rest of the tournament for you now? Yeah, definitely. I think besides their goal, I thought we were pretty good, to be honest. We had a lot of control. We got into really good areas. We were dangerous. I think we still had one or two moments where we could be a little bit more clinical, but in general, I thought it was a good performance from us. And obviously, the main thing that we done was showed character. And that's something that, you know, I think in the qualifying games, it's difficult to replicate because the opposition sometimes are of a different level and they come to Wembley with a different style, for example. And also, there's a lot of chances to redeem it if you don't get a great result. But I think in knockout football, when you can produce a moment like that and everyone kind of looks around at each other and realises, wow, that's the spirit we actually have got in that team, it can help a lot. But also, you don't experience things like that if you don't have the adversity of the two draws, if you don't have the adversity of going 1-0 down. So yeah, it's brilliant because it shows a reaction.
Two more.
Jude, you mentioned about the rubbish for a couple of times there. Just wondering what you meant by that and whether it's annoyed you or what exactly has annoyed you.
I think you know what I mean by the rubbish. You know, I think, like I said, playing for England, it should be one of the most proud things of a footballer's career, but often at times it is quite difficult. You know, there's a really high intense pressure. You know, the fans expect a lot from us, regardless of kind of what happened in recent tournaments years and years ago. So people talk a lot, and you know, I think you do have to take it personally a little bit. You know, we work so hard at this game. We come in and we train every day so hard to try and put on performances for the fans, and sometimes it doesn't go well, and sometimes feels like there's a bit of a pile on, and yeah, it's not nice to hear, but you can always use it. And for moments like that, it's nice to kind of throw it back to some people, I suppose.
Jude, you said it was probably the best goal of your career, but in terms of moments that you've had, spontaneous moments, where does it rank?
It's got to be up there again. You know, I think it's 20 seconds until we're out of the European Championship, and like I said, the mood in comparison to now that it would have been is a massive difference, you know, and what it can do for the team going forward. So I think it's hard to deny that it was one of the most important kind of moments of my career so far. And yeah, we'll see though. It's still a long tournament, and it's only really very important if we go on to win the cup. So we'll decide in the next 2 weeks how important it is.
Thank you very much.
Cheers, everyone. Have a good evening.
Good evening. We're going to start the press conference with Mr. Francesco Calzona, the head coach of Slovakia football team. So, you have to raise your hand, introduce yourself and your media to get the microphone. You have translation in English, German, Slovakian, and Italian for this press conference. And please switch off or put your mobile phone on silent mode. First question over there. Thank you.
Dobrý večer, Vladimír Pančík, Deník Šport. Pán trenér, chcem sa na úvod...
Coach, I would like to ask you whether after this game you feel more disappointment or more pride?
Definitely pride, because we played a great match against a top-level rival who are likely to win in the end. They're one of the favorite teams to win. My team gave it the very best shot. We played on a par, basically, with England. We conceded very little. We almost qualified. We were nearly there. Unfortunately, things went the way they did, and in the extra time, we were half an hour basically on their side of the pitch, and it is. I'm very proud to see this team do so well, and with the other team sending on defenders to preserve the result. Good morning, Maurizio Pizzoferrato. The dream was almost a reality, because you almost scored the second goal. You almost went 2 goals up. What did you think when the ball just past the post? And did you ever think you could have come across Italy, could have met Italy if they had qualified in the quarters? Did you ever think about that? Well, no, I was very sorry about that, because if we had gone 2 goals up by half-time, it would have been a very different match altogether. And then we defended a bit, slightly, because a couple of players who had been given a yellow card, they've been booked, so we were a little less aggressive, but that was our choice. In terms of Italy, I didn't see the match. I was at the press conference yesterday. I don't know how things went. Perhaps I'll view it again later on. Clearly, Italy is my country, and a match against Italy, even if the odds had not been with us, well, I still would have been happy for Italy to carry on. But for me, it is a source of pride, a matter of pride, a reason to be proud to train these lads. The difference on the pitch is made by the players. I was lucky enough to meet all these players who are giving me great rewards, great satisfaction. Dello Sport, congratulations, very good match. You were pressing, even with the wings, you were ready for counterattacks, everything was working well. And if the 2 goals you conceded, well, the first one was a super goal, but perhaps you could have been more careful with Kane, or if you had been a little more focused in the very late minutes, perhaps you were a bit tired. And then perhaps you were missing the correct subs, the right subs in terms of quality. You not have the same standard if you had sent on the subs. Well, we did concede the goal when it was only a matter of a few seconds left. And they scored a goal with a player who is valued on the market 100 million euros. And so it's worth 1.5. The team is worth 1.5 billion. So you can see just half a meter and you will get punished. I don't want to blame anyone, and I don't want to blame any single player, by no means. Clearly, in that very moment, we probably should have been more aggressive in terms of man marking, but this is how things went. I accept that. What I don't accept is a 1 minute stoppage time with their goalkeeper wasting a whole lot of time. I didn't like the refereeing. I absolutely did not like that. I don't like the way the three umpires behaved. They were always coming to our bench. They ignored the other bench. I really did not appreciate this, but that's not the reason why we lost. Once again, I repeat, I am very, very proud of my team. If we have been not so attentive all the time, that's something I will realize when I view the match again tomorrow, but I must congratulate all my players.
Hello. There are certain things that should stay in the dressing room, I understand, but what did you say to the players after this tournament in the dressing room?
Well, I told the players that they did a great job. They were fantastic. What else can I say? We played on a par with all our opponents in this tournament. We played an attacking football. We had a whole lot of chances to score. Statistics tell us there were 3 clear chances per side today. And we played against a team that many consider one of the favorites for winning the tournament. So what can I say? I am very proud of them. So there's really nothing else I can tell them. They are clearly all very disappointed because we were all very, very close to making it. We were almost qualified to the quarterfinals, and then it disappeared with only a few seconds to go. This is football, however, we must accept it. The only thing that I didn't appreciate is that the way the England team were obstructing, were wasting time, was not punished.
Here we are with England coach Gareth Southgate. We can start. Yeah.
Hi Gareth, James Robson from AP. Can you let us know what your thoughts were with about 30 seconds to go before Jude scores that goal?
Well, I knew Ivan Toney had the hump with me for putting him on. That was the first thing. But I said to him, this could be the moment. And we showed the players presentation about 1966 and how Jeff Hurst hadn't played until the quarterfinals and the difficult route that the team had had. And all along, the players that have come into the games have had a big impact. They've been ready, they've trained well. And all of the guys that came on played important roles, either in creating the goals, steadying the ship, Eze defending at the far post as a left wing back for a period of it, Ezri Konsa getting out to stop crosses coming into the box at the end, Conor Gallagher hurling himself around to stop the ball coming into our area where everybody was out on their feet. So that's the spirit that they have and that they've shown, and it's that's got us over the line today. Clearly in the first half we struggled to get through their pressure. We were too slow moving the ball and they were very compact in their midfield, and that's not the first time we've had that problem. Second half we changed the way we built a little bit, and that helped us to get through that first line of pressure a bit better. And I thought for a young team they showed great patience at moments of the game where the encouragement would have been to get the ball forward earlier and rush decisions. We created a super goal that ends up being disallowed, which is again a huge momentum shift at that time. The shot that hits the post. Of course, in the end, it's an old-fashioned long throw that helps us to get back in the game. And the two players that get the goals, you could arguably take off 15 minutes from the end because they looked out on their feet physically, but that's what they're capable of, and that's why we stuck with them.
Yeah, thank you. Harit Zatrian from Armenia. Gareth, having such a team with phenomenal players, we already have seen them. How does the England show describe yourself, the game on the field during these 4 games England is playing, and what do you think how much the luck would be on the Three Lions side during this tournament? Thank you.
Look, we know that we have a little bit of a problem with our balance without left-footed left back, but I have to say Kieran Trippier has done an incredible job and is doing an incredible job for the team. It's that playing through the pressure in midfield that is a problem we've had for a long time, really, and we've always tried to find tactical ways of getting around that. Today, that took us a while to organise, but I think it was better just after half-time. And in the end, when you have more of the ball and you keep probing, then the opposition tire and you start to have more territory, and then you have the chance of creating an opening like we did. So yeah, it's we want to be better. I'm not going to hide from that, but the spirit and the character was there for everybody to see, and we're still in there fighting.
Hi Gareth, Paul Joyce from The Times. I was just wondering if you could speak a little bit more about the presentation about 1966 and what you said. Ivan had the hump with you. What did he say to you? Anything as you were bringing him on, or can you just explain a little bit more about that, please?
I could just tell from his face what he was thinking, and I could understand it. You know, I'm putting him on with a minute to go. Any player is going to think, well, you know, I've been set for the tournament and you've not used me. But what I said to him was, I know this isn't a good time, and I know this isn't the right how you'd like it, but there could be the moment. There could be one moment, and I think his presence will have unsettled them a bit, and he had a very clever bit of play for the second goal as well. So I think he's just about forgiven me now. In terms of 66, we just wanted to highlight that tournaments take you in strange places and difficult routes. Team wasn't always flying. Team, I'm sure, will have been criticised at the start. So it was just a bit of perspective, really. We wanted to highlight the value of the squad, the fact that some of the players that you think are going to be in, like a Jimmy Greaves, that ends up playing a different role, and the support of players like Jimmy Armfield. So yeah, it's one of the things we've done just to recognise the value of the group. And no, this was back at St George's before we started. But you know, we're always referring to these moments because that's part of what creates the tournament winning team. That we've got a long way to go. We're quarter-finals, but we're going to play against a very, very good team. Everybody, I'm sure, will still quite understandably be questioning our performances. I understand that, but we've got some qualities that have kept us in this, and that's not to be underestimated. I'm so proud of how the players have stuck together, and the leadership they've shown, not only on the pitch but back at the base, and that's hugely important for us.
Good evening, Lucas Jach from L'Equipe. The three heroes finally of this game, Bellingham, Kane and Gay, who did the assist on the first game, are players who had difficulties until their heroic behavior before. What do you think of their performance of these three players, and how do you explain that finally they are the heroes?
Did you say Gay? Yeah. Well, I mean, he's been exceptional, you know. We obviously lose him now for the next game, but he's a young defender that we've had enormous belief in, and he's justified that with his performances in this tournament. So yeah, he was another one that was out on his feet before the start of extra time, but we managed to keep him going, and he sacrificed for the team. Harry and Jude, physically, with 15 minutes to go, you're looking at them thinking, should we be refreshing those positions? And maybe that's the bit that could make the difference. But then they're capable of the sorts of things that they did, and that's why you stick with those players. So, when people want changes, you've got to keep some balance to the team. You've got to make changes that you think are definitely going to improve what you're doing, either physically or with a different sort of a problem. I think actually pretty much all the changes we've made in this tournament have had an impact. So that's shown the value of our squad and the need for everybody to be ready.
Hello, Coach. Michal Gavran from Slovakia, Sportweb. Congratulations to your progression. Can you tell me about the game and about the Slovakia performance? If you were maybe a bit surprised of our game. Thank you.
We weren't surprised at all. We have a very good team, well coached. They play well. We knew that to get pressure was going to be difficult. We did that reasonably well, getting pressure on, but we then didn't defend a couple of the longer balls and the transitions as well as we'd have liked. The high pressure is something that has caused us a problem before. The 5 across midfield and the centre forward, they worked unbelievably hard to close the gaps, close the passes through the lines. The route through was wide and then around, and we were too slow to do that in the first half. We changed a little bit after half-time, dropping Rice a bit lower to make a 4, which was a little bit harder for them to press. And I think that gave us, certainly at the start where we got the goal that was disallowed, that helped us to do that. And then we had to take chances with putting Saka to left-back and a couple of other changes. But we knew they'd had to work unbelievably hard. And we also knew that one goal changes the whole atmosphere in the ground. So I had belief right the way through that we would get that goal. I didn't think it would be as late as it was. But it was a night where I wasn't prepared. I wasn't ready to go home yet, and clearly the players felt the same.
Hi Gareth, Jacob Steinberg from The Guardian. After everything that's happened in the last few weeks, do you hope that the kind of emotion of what's gone on tonight can carry the players into the quarter-final, sort of lift some of the tension that seems to be hanging over them? Or is it for you more the moment to be cold and analyse some of the things that are going wrong from the start of the games?
Well, obviously as the manager, I'll do all of those things. You build on the spirit that they've shown, the belief that they'll have gained from that, and equally we're not naive. We're going in to play a team that have looked outstanding, not just in this tournament but for quite a while as well. So that's going to be a big tactical challenge for us. We know that the level of our game will need to be higher, but there was a spirit, and there was a togetherness that has been building. We've had a lot of problems to solve through this whole lead into the camp, through the tournament. We're putting a plaster over different things and giving young players opportunities, and we're somehow finding a way. I can imagine how everybody is going to react to that, even though we've won. But we're still in there, and I don't think that, the one thing that can't be questioned is the desire, the commitment, the character.
Congratulations, Gareth. You were supported on the bench in extra time by Kane and Bellingham, who did a bit of coaching. Is their involvement a good sign?
Well, they couldn't run anymore, so they used their voices instead. Look, I think you'll have seen with those two, with Trippier, the spirit that's there, and they knew that we had to take them off. They'd run their race. We needed freshness. We needed to alter the shape a little bit to give ourselves the best chance of getting through the game with an unbalanced team by the time we'd got the equaliser. And yeah, they were both prepared to sacrifice that for the group. So they had done their job. They're then, of course, in the hands of the rest of the squad. But that's actually a really powerful moment for a team, because it's one thing to win games when all your star players are on the pitch, but when actually all the changes are delivering and it's a critical moment of the game and they feel that they're trusted in those moments or they've played a huge part in the result, then that's brilliant for the spirit of the group.
Yeah, Gareth from Norwegian VG. Bellingham was here, explained his celebration scream and said that people are talking a lot rubbish. Can you describe the pressure that's been put on him during this tournament, and how is it for you and your team to perform when the criticism obviously has reached your camp?
Yeah, look, I've said for a long, long time, he was 21 yesterday, and he's doing unbelievably well. I understand his world better than a lot of people, I think. His world is different to pretty much every other 21-year-old in the world. He's had an incredible impact on his clubs, his national team already. But he's still a young man, and he is going to say things, react to things in a way that young people will. So, but what he can provide us are these moments where he grabs things by the scruff of the neck, and his character and his personality creates moments that can change a big game. That's what he has given to us again today. 2 hugely important goals for us in this tournament already. He's a great boy. He's super to work with, wants to do well, and also I think he knows that we're trying to help him through all of these challenges and hurdles that the different environment of the national team brings, because it is a different environment.
Hi Gareth, Oliver Holt from the Daily Mail. Gareth, just a couple of quick things. One was, I remember in the aftermath of the 1999 Champions League finals, when United obviously losing for a large part of that, Sir Alex Ferguson said that he'd started to think about how he had to lose with dignity. He wanted to be dignified in defeat. Had you started at all, I know you're busy with other things, but had you started at all to think about the aftermath and being dignified or whatever? And the other thing is a bit more simple. Do we have to play better to beat Switzerland?
Well, yes is the obvious answer to the second part. The first part, no. You always know when you leave the hotel in a knockout game that there's 2 possible paths, and you just don't know how that's going to end up. It's knockout football and anything is possible. But while the game was going on, we were just trying to make the best decisions possible, make changes that gave us a chance of scoring but didn't leave us completely unbalanced and wide open to counter-attacks. Then when we'd got the goal, okay, we probably need to change the shape because we're a bit of a mess in terms of how many attacking players on the pitch. So really you're just constantly thinking through, trying to think as clearly as possible in those moments. And as I said, the players that came on did a fantastic job with and without the ball to make the difference.
Yeah, last 2 questions.
Hi, Gareth. James Ollie from ESPN. John Stones has just said in a Flash interview that he feels we can take the handbrake off now and show ourselves. Do you sense there's still a bit of inhibition maybe within the players, and if so, can a comeback win like that sort of free them from it?
Well, tonight was an example of cup football. You know, sometimes cup football is about character, is about heart, is about spirit. We didn't defend well at the start, and as I've said, we didn't play through their press, which was really well organised, and we struggled to break that first line of pressure. So that wasn't handbrake. That was, we had a problem that we couldn't solve, getting the ball into the second line of the pitch, and there's a big difference. So I think that the game against the Swiss will throw completely different tactical problems, just as difficult, just as complex, and a different solution to solve. But as I said, we've got a few days to recover, and that's going to be important, because the energy levels that were required, whether we've got any injuries, we need to assess. Obviously, we lose Mark for the next game as well. So, plenty for us to think about. Tripp's had, he's obviously had a lot of football, but we just wanted to go with Bukayo at that moment and go with another attacking player, basically.
Simon Peach from PA. Congratulations and good luck in the paddle final this week. It's obviously a long lead in to this game, so how's it going to look in terms of rest and recovery and making sure the players have a break mentally? And following on from that, Luke Shaw wasn't brought on this evening. Are you confident he will be fit to be involved against Switzerland?
Yeah, I think that's got a chance. I mean, we could have put him on, but he's done so little full team training that would have been a huge risk. A bit more training, a little bit more evidence for us of the level that he's at will be helpful. The week we'll definitely need more recovery time now, but that's fine, because you don't need 4-day lead in to work on things. The players need to get this game out of their head and enjoy some time together. We'll plan the week from here now.
Thank you very much, everyone. You're welcome to work here for the next 15 minutes, and then please move to the media hub. Thank you and good night.